Remote drug delivery has widely been used for decades by wildlife researchers. For one, a method for tracking animal movement, bird migration, among other things. More recently, the cattle industry has recognized the benefits of remote drug delivery in the healthy and safe treatment of animals. Good evening and welcome to this edition of Rural America Live. I'm Mark Oppel. Thanks for joining us. Interesting hour shaping up. New guests we welcome for the first time to RFDtv, discussing the impact of remote drug delivery on herd health, some of the issues that surround the use of remote drug delivery, and the things you need to know to integrate it into an effective total herd health management program on your farm and ranch. We have a panel of experienced large animal veterinarians, cattle rancher joining us later this hour as well. Joining me, a co-host, I'm excited about this, for the evening, Cord McCoy is with us. He's been a cowboy all his life. RFDtv viewers may recognize you. Good,
thanks
welcome
for having
back.
me, Mark. It's quite an honor to be here with such a expertise group of cattlemen and women as well.
Absolutely. Talk about your background here. We're going to visit our guests in a minute as well, but let's start with you, Cord. Welcome back, first of all, and a long history in the cattle business and rodeoing as well.
Well, I was born on a cattle ranch. You know, they always joke I was riding horses before I got out of diapers. I was gathering cattle. My dad, he would joke that he didn't want us to go to kindergarten because he needed help gathering cattle. So I guess I grew up on the ranch.
Very good. We have a video that kind of talks about extended. You're much too modest here, but what's gone on in the past. And we wanted to start the hour with Cord coming back to RFDtv for this hour and take a look at his history.
When you look up in the dictionary what a cowboy is someone who cares for cattle or livestock. My job is to show the rest of the world this is how you do it. This is how you take care of your livestock. I feel like Pneu-Dart has opened up a whole new door for the common cattle producer to take care of their animals. I was born to be a cowboy. I was still wearing diapers when I started riding horses. Grew up on a big cattle ranch in southeast Oklahoma. My dad had about 3,000 acres and run a bunch of yearlings and an order buying business. Being part of the Western way of life was pretty natural for my family. I was the fifth. I guess when you're the fifth one, you kind of just got to go along and do whatever the rest of the fam's doing. Yeah, I started riding at Pee-wee rodeos, junior rodeos, and making my way up. By the time I was a sophomore in high school, I was making a living riding in rodeos, especially bull riding, which is my favorite event. Got a full ride scholarship to go to Southwestern Oklahoma State University on a rodeo team. And after college, I never did fill out a resume. I just went straight into professional rodeo. One of my biggest highlights of my career was getting to compete on the World Cup team in Australia. 5 riders from 5 different countries, United States, Canada, Mexico, Australia, and Brazil. One of my biggest setbacks was in 2004. I was riding in Oklahoma City at the State Fair. The horse had went across the arena bucking, and he'd come up really high in the front end, and I'd lost the swells of the saddle, and I'd rolled out the back. But when I was behind that horse, the horse kicked out, and the end of his hoof caught me in the side of the head and actually crushed my skull. The doctors didn't know that I was going to live. I did 6 months of speech therapy and physical therapy. I know that blessing to be alive, and I feel like there's a reason for me to be here. I started Pneu-Darts to do a commercial. The more I learned about the Pneu-Dart remote delivery, it opens up a lot of doors for cattle raisers. I'm doing everything I can to take care of these bulls that I raise. When you can take a projector and go out there on the coldest day of the year, and if something needs medicated, you can do it right then. The exposure that I've got through the Amazing Race, 30 million people a week that get to watch the Amazing Race that really don't know our Western way of life. And I feel like it definitely opened up a door for the rest of the world that, Jet and I got to be representatives for cowboys. I was born to this way of life, and I'm pretty sure when I breathe my last breath, I'll be doing the same thing.
And good to have you back here, Cord. Let's start the conversation with you, and we talk about remote drug delivery and your personal thoughts.
Well, it's definitely an honor to be here today. We use the remote drug delivery on our ranch, and we've seen such amazing results. So it's an honor to be able to come here and to share it with the rest of the world. since I've been using it, I think it's given me a lot more opportunities to attack, I guess, the sicknesses at that particular time, and it's been real good. I personally believe that drug delivery systems create a real opportunity for anyone raising cattle to improve their health in their herd.
Sure.
And I think this technology is important to advance our industry and to the support of Western way of life, which is under great threat in America right now. As our older generations retire and the much smaller number of younger get started, we're facing real challenges to meet the growing demand of beef throughout the world from just a handful of producers.
Right.
And for all that we're using, you know, it's another tool that any cowboy or ranch producer can use. And so I got to admit, I was surprised to know that there were a few misconceptions about the use of remote drug delivery in some segments of the cattle industry.
You had a story you wanted to share before we move forward here from here as well. Talk about that. Share that.
You know, just like I had said, tools, you know, just Sunday night, you know, my family was sitting around the dinner table where I think a lot of us make, you know, ranching decisions. Mm-hmm. You know, we related the remote drug delivery to a mechanic, you know, how many tools that they have in their shop to go to make their vehicles run. And we feel like the projectors and the darts are another tool for cowboys or cowgirls, cattle producers, to be able to go use. So it's another opportunity to make our business run.
Very good. And so tonight, our panel is going to take a look at the remote delivery currently playing in the cow, calf, and stocker operations, clarify some of the issues, quite frankly, around the proper and unfortunately some improper use of remote delivery systems, address the role that it should play as the industry moves forward from here. And we have some questions that have been sent to us that we're going to ask our panel. Let's introduce them right now. Glad to have them here for this hour. Dr. Jessica Laurin is here, first of all, and welcome. Your background, you were from the state of Kansas originally?
I grew up in central Kansas. I grew up on a small family farm. I went to Kansas State University. I've been in practice for 20 years. My practice is right on the edge of the Flint Hills. Mm-hmm. I have 2 facilities in 2 towns and 2 associate veterinarians. We do mixed practice, but in our area we do a lot of cow-calf, stocker, backgrounder, and smaller family feed yard style medicine. And it's really been interesting to work with as some of the older generations have retired and the younger generations coming back. And we're lucky in our area to have some of the younger generations coming back and working with them with different tools that makes their opportunities blossom in our area.
I'm always interested to ask veterinarians, is this something when you were 10 years old, you said, Mom, Dad, I want to be a veterinarian?
Yeah. I was helping Dad dehorn cattle when I was about 10 years old and right in the middle of all of it, and he looked at me and he told me later on, I figured you were going to be a veterinarian.
How about that? Good to have you here, Dr.
Thank you.
Laurin. Good to have you here. Dr. Robin Falkner is joining in to my left here, and where's home for you, Doctor?
Well, I'm a native of North Mississippi, graduated Mississippi State in 1989. Mm-hmm. So I've been a veterinarian both as a practice owner, a consultant, and an industry technical services veterinarian since that time. And my area of interest is in the cattlemen that I deal with are primarily in what we would consider the extensive stocker, backgrounder, grazer, yearling type operations.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been doing that with the folks in Mississippi?
Well, actually now, you bring that up, I live just south of here, just south of Nashville at Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and I work pretty much over a lot of the southeast.
Very good. Good to have you here as well, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
Looking forward to your input. Dr. Scott Sturgeon fills out our panel for this beginning of this hour, and Dr. Scott, good to have you here as well. Talk about your background.
Well, thanks for having me first. I appreciate that. I'm a graduate of Oklahoma State University, graduated 2004 from veterinary school there. Mm-hmm. I'm a proud second-generation veterinarian. I know when you asked Dr. Laurin if her mom or dad ever asked her if that's what she wanted to do, well, that's what I grew up doing, and I'm very proud of that. I'm a cow-calf veterinarian. We also do a lot of stocker consulting, and we do some livestock auctions, so we're involved in a variety of things. I have one associate veterinarian who works with me. Real proud to have him on, and we just enjoy the work we do.
So you're an auctioneer as well?
Not an auctioneer. we work on the backside.
Oh, I wanted to have you do a little chant here.
No. The veterinarian doesn't get to see what happens on the front side of the sale barn too much. We're usually in the back.
I'll bet. So. Absolutely. Good to have you here as well.
Thank you.
So, all right. So let's, we have a sponsor we want to make sure that we say thank you to, Cord, that makes this whole hour possible. And you want to spend a few minutes thanking them and kind of setting it up for the night.
I'd also like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Pneu-Dart, For those of you who are not familiar with Pneu-Dart, they've been manufacturing projectors and darts and remote delivery medications to tranquilize wildlife populations since 1967. Pneu-Dart was approached by members of the cattle community who recognized the advantages of remote drug delivery and were eager to apply darting technology to the treatment of cattle. For the last 5 years, Pneu-Dart has been actively supporting the cattle community, making every effort to learn as much as possible about the industry and the needs of cattle producers. The company continues to refine and advocate darting technology to meet those needs. In fact, within the next 90 days, Pneu-Dart will be introducing patent-pending slow inject technology and is in the process of launching a remote drug delivery certification program for those who own and use their equipment. Today's show is a direct result of the desire to continue the support growth of our industry.
Very good. And it's clearly no secret as we talk about that you support and others here, the DART projections, remote drug delivery, as we talk about, here to stay because the benefits to the rancher really too great. I think the panel, we're going to ask about that. That's why we asked Pneu-Dart to get involved here and invite them to RFDtv to talk about the industry, talk about some of the issues here with the people who use it and the experts that we have here. So let's get started here and talk about why it's appropriate to use DART projections. I would say that the folks at Pneu-Dart solicited their customers for some questions, and it's a great place for us to have a starting point to ask questions that are being asked by the industry out there. So if I may start the conversation here with you, Dr. Laurin, here's a question that came into to us, wanted to share in the start. Do any of you deliver drugs remotely? And if you do, can you tell us a little bit about why you do it, how you've integrated the remote drug delivery system into your practice or your operation, and the effect that it's had?
You know, it's an interesting question because my practice area, we've got probably about a 90-mile range all along the western edge of the Flint Hills. And so we deal with a lot of operations that have confined cattle and a lot of operations that have non-confined. And our pastures may range as small as 20 acres to as big as 320 or 640 acres. Economically, sometimes it's very practical to have facilities that you can bring the cattle in easily to try to catch if we need to treat or handle. And in some of those areas, some of the rough terrain and some of the climates, it's kind of relatively impractical. Certain times of the years, this summer, you know, in June and early part of July in our area, it was hot and humid, and it was really, really humid. And you could not go out and work cattle comfortably after 10, 11 o'clock in the morning without stressing them out. And so you have to consider being able to go out at the correct time of the day to look at cattle, handle them, and be able to treat those necessarily and promptly and as quickly and easily as you possibly can. So like weather concerns like June and July, we have to be able to get out there and treat cattle with as least stress as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, working with producers to try to mitigate, manage, to reduce adverse events is a priority. I mean, it's something that we all have to address, and it's a concern of all of ours.
And you talk about different terrains, but we sure have it here. You know, Kansas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Tennessee. You see it all. I want to get your thoughts, Dr. Robin, about do you use these remote drug delivery systems? You know,
a lot of the cattlemen I work with do, and it comes down to, I think oftentimes cattlemen are trying to balance the same things that we veterinarians balance in our oath. You know, we've got animal welfare, protection of the food supply, protection of public safety. And I'll just give an example from maybe 6 weeks ago that I think would be relevant.
Yeah.
I was on an operation that had turned some calves out into the pasture, some weaned calves. The calves had been out about 35 days. It wasn't even that hot a day. This is probably September. But these animals had bovine respiratory disease, and they wouldn't drive. They wanted to fight. You know, it wasn't because of the temperament of the animals. Their fight or flight was kicked in, and they couldn't run because their lungs were compromised, so they wanted to fight. And so it was impossible to get those animals to a corral without severely stressing them. And so that producer took a remote delivery device, doctored those cattle, and it was absolutely the best option at that time.
Great example. How about that? Dr. Scott, your thoughts here. Do you obviously, it sounds like, have used them as well?
Yes, use it personally and also recommend it to clients. It's something that I was actually introduced to by a client when I was still in veterinary school, and he became a future client. The technology, or as Cord said, a mechanic's tool for the cattle industry, and we like to use the product. We use it for efficiency, for safety, and for just common welfare of the cattle.
That's a great point that we make here. And my co-host is going to take the next question.
We've got another question in. And the question is, and this could be to anybody, we'll start back with you, Dr. Scott. What signs or symptoms should I be looking for when I'm checking my cattle that I can effectively treat with remote delivery?
Okay. Well, as Dr. Falkner said, the bovine respiratory disease, or BRD, is the primary concern we have in livestock, especially in young cattle. We can use we have a variety of antibiotics we can use when you have a script with your veterinarian with a VCPR. And what I look for is if you're out feeding your livestock, those guys who have cake boxes or a feed truck and they go out and feed, you know, the first thing you look for is one of them calves that don't come up to eat. Cattle aren't eating, they're not feeling good. Yeah. I mean, that's the #1 sign you can look at. Then you just start looking at the temperament of the cattle. Do they got their head down? Is their nose dry? Are they gaining a little bit? There's a number of signs you can look at in bovine respiratory disease, but
cattle people know cattle.
People know cattle.
Nobody knows their own cattle better than the owner.
That's right.
Well, and one thing you have to consider is really have to get to know your cattle. So you really need to get to know their personalities. You need to be in and amongst those cattle because they are a prey animal. I mean, if they view you as a predator, they're going to hide their signs. So they need to be relaxed and comfortable with you. So getting to be a partner in their a part of their daily life is important. So yeah, depression scores, if they look depressed, are their heads drawn in? Are they paying attention to you? Because if I have a headache, I'm not going to be looking out and seeing what's going on. Do they look like they're just inside their head? Are they staying away from everyone else, or are they hiding back behind? But getting to know the personalities of those cattle are imperative. And regardless if you have 20 cattle, 200 cattle, 2,000 cattle, as you get to know their personalities and understand where they stand in that herd,
that calf is not acting normal.
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Falkner?
Well, you know, and specifically in choosing a remote delivery device, instead of pulling the animal into a shoot or hospital and doctoring it, we're looking at, you know, what's best for the animal. You know, and oftentimes what's best for the people too. If it's going to be a rodeo where it's either stressful or harmful to the animal or people, or if we're going to take so much time that becomes a negative on the kind of response we get from treatment, well then if you're familiar with and know how to use a remote delivery device properly, then that's a tool in your toolbox you can use to better manage your cattle to better outcomes.
This brings up something else.
It doesn't answer every question. Yeah. It answers, sometimes it's the perfect answer for the question if you've got it in your toolbox.
I was in Las Vegas at the National Finals Rodeo last week, and I had split a cab with a cattle ranger from Enid, Oklahoma, and I asked him, I said, you know, I told him I'm coming out here to do a remote drug delivery with RFDtv, and I said, what are your thoughts on it? He said, I started using it, and we check our cattle with it. He said, I wouldn't go without it now. We've got a remote drug delivery device in every truck and a bottle of medication, and their mortality rate has went down so much by being able to treat it right then and there.
How about that? Absolutely. One more question here that I'll start it with you again, Doctor. I like ladies before gentlemen here. That's okay. I'm sure you agree. When I have an animal exhibiting the symptoms that we're talking about here, how quickly do I need to be medicating? I guess looking at a time interval.
Well, if it's respiratory disease, the quicker you can accommodate, get treatment done, the better off to the animal. Remember that a beef calf they're not athletic and built. Their size of their lungs in proportion to their size of their rumen is very small. So that's the one nice thing about a remote delivery system is the promptness makes a difference. The quicker you can treat the animal, the less you have to worry about them dropping back and getting sick longer, negative effects. So the quicker is always the better.
Anything to add, Dr. Robin?
She nailed it. Of all the things that can cause what we call a treatment failure, a failure to respond to treatment, not being timely with the treatment is the most common.
You know, we like to call them late pulls a lot, which means that animal didn't get doctored as soon as it should have been, whether it was missed one day, or, you know, let's say we was out in the feed truck or in our Ranger and we checked our cattle and, you know, your bottle of medicine's empty. Well, you go home and, you know, you get busy doing something else. You don't get back out there till that evening to doctor that calf. You know, you could have a treatment failure because of
just the timing
offense.
Well, we do have a short video of Mr. Nathan Shopper, a bull rider. There's also a cattle producer talking about remote drug delivery. Show the clip.
The doctoring we will do is we have calves with pneumonia out in the fields when we bring them home in the fall, and it's just way less stressful to run out there and treat them with a dart gun versus bringing them in. It seems like once you start moving them a couple miles to the nearest corral, it just stresses them out and it's way worse. Same with treating a bull with hoof rot out in the pasture. They're not going to move very good anyways. I mean, they can hardly move when you find them usually. So instead of trailing them in on horseback, we'll just treat them right there with the dart gun, and it's just way easier on the cattle.
And I'll ask you, when you have a sick animal, what is your procedure?
Well, I definitely with the veterinarians that you know, their idea is the best, and for us we're the same way, and especially like if we're calving or if you know, there's a herd of cattle. Not only being able to do it immediately, being able to do it without disrupting the rest of the herd as well. So it's effective material. You know, the remote drug delivery has done so much for the cattle business already.
Very good. And with that, we're going to take our first break of the evening. My co-host and I will be back, and the veterinarians back as well. Our friends from Pneu-Dart talking about remote drug delivery. More to come. We'll take some more questions and get some answers from the experts who are in the field every day. More coming up. Rural America Live continues right after this.
We wake up before dawn to take care of the important things. We value the simple things in life and do things our way because life's too short for compromise. That's why we're so proud of the work we do. The remote drug delivery equipment we build makes it easier for farmers and ranchers to care for their animals. That helps them take care of their families, and that's what matters to us. At Pneu-Dart, we put family first.
Welcome back to Rural America Live. I'm Mark Oppold, and we are joined by our veterinarians here, our friends from Pneu-Dart, talking with the veterinarians and ranchers about the value of remote drug delivery, the issues related to the delivery. I want to start this segment by taking a look at a video that we think demonstrates one of the advantages of remote delivery, and showing that to you right now.
She wasn't too far from the water where she is right now. I like to never got her up. It could be the onset, according to my veterinarian, of anaplasm, and you can't stress them too much. There's no way to get any medication into her other than a remote injection. I just hope when I dart her that she will not go out further in the water. She had a baby about 10 days ago, and people tell me that it's the time that they can sure show up with the anaplasm. The calf was sick. I roped him. Wasn't very big, like I said, 10 days, and got a guy bottle feeding him. So he was sick with pneumonia also, but I've got him taken care of and going to try to save the cow.
In this video, the animal had anaplasmosis. The producer was able to treat the animal even in less than ideal location without additional stress.
That's a great example, yeah. And anything you pulled from that video watching that, Doctor?
Well, one thing we do have to talk about is the different tools that we have in our toolbox. I would like to see in the future a medication that really works well for anaplasmosis, that fits really well in the drug delivery system. You know, talking with your veterinarian and talking about the different antibiotics that we use and their appropriate uses in for different types of diseases is a must in that location. But, you know, the idea is that an animal with anaplasmosis doesn't handle stress very well. Yeah. And so trying to treat them in a low stress situation is a must.
But we got another question, and question number 4. Now I know that the use of antibiotics is a hot topic in the cattle industry. I think that we can all agree the best practice is to have a good health management system in place to prevent illness rather than relying on antibiotics, which I think we could all agree. So the question is, I'm wondering if I deliver treatment to the first onset of some of the more common diseases like BRD, like we talked about earlier, anaplasm or foot rot, for example, will I end up using fewer antibiotics on the cattle than if I delay treatment to the cattle? Dr. Robin?
Yeah, I think we had consensus.
Is that what we talked about already?
Yeah, I think we had consensus on that, you know, in our earlier discussion. You know, that all of these questions that are coming in, you know, remind us, to me at least, and especially watching that earlier video, of the importance of the relationship with your veterinarian in what we're discussing. Anaplasmosis, to my knowledge, we don't have an approved drug for right now. So that's a conversation that you need to have with your veterinarian about which treatments might be appropriate, how I might administer them. And it may be that a remote delivery device is appropriate. But, you know, as Dr. Laurin said, we need more things in our arsenal, and we need to use the ones we've got properly so that hopefully we get some more and don't lose the ones we've got.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great answer. I mean,
Thank you.
Put that on paper.
You should have gone to school for that.
Write that down.
You know, I completely agree with that. Let's use the products we have, use them judiciously, use them wisely. One thing great about Pneu-Dart is they've got a wide variety of sizes of darts. So we can actually get our dosing real correct for the size of animal we're treating. And that's something that really works well. They've got different size needles. So if you want a sub-Q injection or an IM injection, and different, not just antibiotics, but other medications we use have different injection methods. So we need to keep that in mind too when we're doctoring our livestock.
Yeah, if nothing else, just to go retrieve that cow. I'm not a good enough swimmer to go out there and to give her, you know, more CC. So maybe it's just retrieving the cow to medicate her at you know, later locations.
Very good. And you remind me again, viewers here, we're not going to be able to cover all the issues or all the points here in the hour, but Pneu-Dart.com is a great spot, a great website. Keep that, write that down, and go to that often to review and learn more about this topic that we're just introducing for the first time on RFDtv with our friends from Pneu-Dart. In fact, this is a question I think that you wanted to cover, and our friends from Pneu-Dart wanted you to respond to. So, given that time is important, we talked about that, and reducing the rate of antibiotic that I respond to the animal's needs, and knowing that we're more likely to provide treatment sooner if we can use a remote drug delivery system than bringing a cow-calf to, let me see, am I reading this right? Does anyone believe that the remote drug delivery will not promote the health of my herd? I hope I read that right. Is there a place where it's not going to be healthy to the herd, I guess?
Well, if you're in a situation like a feedlot setting, or if you've got a nice set of pins and a hydraulic chute right there on your pasture, which some clients do, some clients don't, you may be better off taking that animal into your corrals and doctoring it there. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're on a lot of leased country or rent pasture like we have in western Oklahoma, you know, you got a hot wire fence up, and that's about all you got to contain your animals. So, depending on your situation, yeah, there's times it's better to put them in a chute, but there's also times it's better for the animals and for yourself just to go ahead and do a remote
Have any of you come up with situations that, like Dr. Scott mentions, where it was better to do, as he's talking about there, and
right.
different method?
There's always different methods, you know, and considering a cow-calf, if you have a 2-weight calf and you're trying to bring him into pens, sometimes you have to worry about how that calf is handling into pens. If you're bringing up several cow-calf pairs and that poor little calf is getting ran over a long distance and pushed around by that cow, it's probably better off to be treating that in open pasture with the remote delivery system.
You got a bossy mama with him, so
yeah.
you have to watch out, you know, on young calves. You know, them cows can hurt some people too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next question, question 6, are you seeing any problems being caused by using dart projectors? What are those things that we should watch out for? Dr. Rob?
I mean, we've had some email streams going around with some pictures of darts that got embedded into tissue because of improper use. And obviously that's a big issue for our industry that focuses on the consumer, food safety, beef quality. So it really brings back the point that, you know, like any other tool, it's one we need to use responsibly. We need to know how to use it. We need to know when not to use it. And we need to make sure that if an accident does happen, that we respond appropriately to that. Mm-hmm. So obviously an animal that had a dart embedded in tissue should have never made it into a packing house. Luckily, those were caught, and they didn't go out into a consumer because we have metal detectors and other things within processing.
Know your projector, know your gun, know how to use it. So before you ever get started with anything else, you know, make sure that you're trained in how to use it. Find some place, practice with it several times. Make sure you're using it for the appropriate setting. Follow the manufacturer's directions. And I think Pneu-Dart as a manufacturer is getting good about relating to its clients about how to use it in appropriate settings. You don't want to use something for a long distance in a very short distance. One thing that's worked great for producers is being able to get up to cows fairly close and use a remote delivery in a closer range, but you want to use the right projector with the right kind of settings. So don't go over to another feed store and buy charges for a different type of gun that wasn't actually made for that gun. Use the correct device correctly and learn how to train.
Cord, you wanted to expand on this, what we would maybe under the label of of the proper use of the remote drug delivery systems.
Right. Well, Pneu-Dart has a system to where that you can actually practice. I mean, there is an O zone that you have practice darts where you can learn to shoot before you're actually medicating the animals. But I think there's other things as well. You know, the importance of identification. You know, knowing which animals that you've given a shot to, and you can elaborate on that as well.
Well, yeah, you need to have a game plan before you ever release them in a non-confined setting. So making sure every calf is identified, and when you're out there, making sure that you keep written records. So that way, when you bring them off pasture, you know which calf has been treated with what. If there's something that goes wrong, make sure you can recover whatever you need to from those calves at the end point. And don't go out there and just expect, I'm going to be out there in 5 minutes to get everything taken care of. You know, you have to have time and patience with your cattle, and you have to have time and patience when you use your delivery system.
A couple of other things here I want to kind of throw out to the panel here, Cord, and you can throw one in here too, that our friends at Pneu-Dart wanted to make sure we covered tonight. And I can start over here with you, Dr. Scott. Discarded darts and your observations in that regard. Well,
it's kind of funny the way animals work. You can find about 90% of your darts in 2 locations if you want to go retrieve them, and you should to keep them out of the environment. A lot of them are either by the water tank or by the feed trough. Animals spend a lot of time at those 2 locations, and Pneu-Dart's got the little plastic technology that dissolves on the tip of the needle, and the dart will eventually fall out. But they also fall out if they rub against another animal, which can happen at a water tank or feed trough. So
anything, that's great. Anything that you or your clients have shared with you as far as discarded darts, Doctor?
Well, I will say that most cattlemen are really proud of the land and taking care of it. So it's a priority for them. So I see them picking them up in those operations where there are employees using a projector. I've had a couple that even put a kind of a bounty system in on darts. They didn't want to make it so high that the guys were out spending their time looking for darts instead of doing their job. But they really incentivized that, hey, guys, look for these and pick them up and collect them in a bucket, and then about every 3 months we'll write you a check for the darts you picked up.
It's a nice idea. I can't find golf balls, so there are times that I can't find the darts, but it is imperative to pick them up. I don't like seeing them in dirt situations like in a confined yard because I get afraid of them getting stepped on. The nice thing about in grass is you've got a lot of insulative property. And one thing, and we have not seen this as an issue, but always remember when you pick up a dart, make sure the needle is on there. And if it's not, let the manufacturer know, because they're pretty good at making sure that the quality control is there. You need to let them know if it's not.
Wow, that's helpful information too. Great, yeah. So hope our listeners and viewers taking notes here. That's why the panel is here. They live it. And they know it, and that's why we have them here to share with you. Another topic.
Moving on, regarding hematomas and bruising causing excess trim, I've noticed that whether I use a hand injection or a dart projector, I've shot the animal correctly, that there's no difference within a few days of the amount of swelling or bruising on that animal. A preliminary study of Pneu-Dart has completed also showed the difference between types of injection sites in as little as 21 days after darting with a controlled solution on one side of the neck and a manual injection on the other side, that there's no different in if the projector was correctly used.
So anything on the, again, on bruising or that topic?
One thing is having the discussion with your veterinarian to make sure you're choosing the appropriate type of medicine as far as syringeability, how well it goes through the syringe, and if it does accidentally hit the muscle underneath, is it going to cause a flaring reaction? I think that's an important thing to talk to your veterinarian about when you make those decisions. What do you think?
Also the needle. I think that there's often a mindset that bigger is better, or more is better, or longer is better. But most of the injections we give in cattle now, we give sub-Q. And we only need a 1/2-inch needle to do that on almost any animal. Maybe buffalo or some other species might need more needle. So by using that very shortest needle, we're delivering the medicine into subcutaneous space where we're going to get less reaction, not going to affect the product that's going to end up on someone's plate.
Very good. More questions coming in. If we can move on here to a question that says, I've seen the phrase transient local tissue reaction on the label. What does that mean? Why is it important?
We really want to worry about, at the end of the day, we're producing a beef product for a consumer.
Sure.
And we want to make sure it's a safe, wholesome product. And we want to make sure we minimize our tissue reaction. So choosing the proper product, we've talked about a lot of these things already, choosing the proper needle and giving the injection in the right location. You know, the ideal location is either side of the neck. There's a triangular area. That's what we try to shoot for.
No matter what piece of equipment, whether you're using as a hand injection or in the remote delivery system, like he said, he nailed it right on the head. Choosing the right product, the right length, placing it in the right place makes all the difference, because at the end of the day, we all like to eat beef. We all want to eat as many steaks as we possibly can, so doing the right thing every single time.
But getting back to the safety of it, I mean, and embedding those, I think Pneu-Dart has these studies on their website, you know, ready to inform or educate their users. You can go to their website and get the information that they've proposed. If you're interested, maybe you can put the website up and we can look at the screen and for everyone at home. But the web address is the study information Lab for Life image.
There we go.
Provided by Pneu-Dart. And I've seen the phrase transient local reaction, and we've kind of covered that already, but they kind of reiterate that on their site as well.
Let me clarify. So that basically, if academicians or those that are in university go to that website, they can request to be invited in to help do research on that topic? Is that correct?
Well, that's the way I understand it. We have to go to the website and look at the details as well. But it's open for you know, all of us to look at. And Pneu-Dart is so good about being open about the technology that they have and trying to advance, and open to doing the studies to advance the cattle business for all of us.
Very good. You wanted to get back to the possibility of embedding a dart causing injury, I think, here, Cord, and agreeing that if the projector is incorrectly used, there's some issues that can come with that, and you wanted to address that a little bit more before we go to break here on that particular item.
Well, I think the Pneu-Dart projectors have mechanical adjusted power control, which allow you to change the muzzle velocity and the dart. Therefore, you can control the force and the impact. You know, many of us using a .22 caliber to deliver your darts. You may make the changes in, you know, sufficient to adjust that you don't need all that power. You know, the darts are actually supposed to have a slight arc before they hit, and then when they do hit that cow, that they just go in enough, and you know, some of the cows might just trot off. And you guys have shot more than I have, or have darted several more than I have. You know, kind of your thoughts on that as well.
You know, I've seen no problems when, you know, the technology used properly. You know, it's got a slight arc. The dart will go in them. Very little of them, or very few, run afterwards. I mean, they may take a few steps and stop. They'll go back to grazing. Some of the medications, if you're treating a larger cow or a bull, it may require 2 darts. I mean, and you know, if you got to give them 2, if they run very far, you're not going to be able to give them 2. And I've never had an issue with that. And on the power settings, you know, it's just something you need to practice with and get used to it. Talk to your veterinarian. A lot of them know. There's a lot of knowledge and technology out there, and there's a lot of things available on Pneu-Dart's website. And just practice. You know,
my wife loves the practice dart. She can get right in the ozone. She uses it more as a game there. But you know, it does take practice, and Pneu-Dart makes that available. That they sell practice darts that you can go out, and you know, we just set it up in an area on some bales of hay and practice before we go make it.
They come with your gun too. Right. Some practice darts come with your gun, and get out there and practice. Try it out. Use it before you decide you're going to go and treat an animal with it. We always like to talk to our clients about the distance away. And when you talk about it, I mean, a lot of ranchers, they have guns already anyway, and they like to see how far they can shoot. But this is something, usually the closer you are, the better. We like to say, you know, 15, maybe 20 yards, so a couple pickup links. We
got a video. Let's. I think we have Pneu-Dart supplying us with information here that will be helpful to everyone here. We talk about this very subject. Let's take a look at this.
I want to make sure she looks away from me before I shoot. There we go.
And Pneu-Dart is in the process now of launching their new delivery online certification program, which not only teaches you how to properly use the power control settings on your projector, it also covers how to practice, how to create your own trajectory and power charts. It goes over a number of other best practices for your remote drug delivery program. You can check that all out on their website. I understand the full course will be available soon. Another thing that's critical to know is that the Dart has a target as far as the ozone, and I want you to cover that.
Well, you know, when you get your Pneu-Dart projector, there actually is a target in the box, so you can go out and practice and kind of zone it in. There's also a chart, you know, on the power settings as well, that you can make your own adjustments if it may be just a little bit different, so you can prepare to medicate all your animals.
Very good. One more question before we go to break here. Now that we all know that there are people out there still shooting animals in the rump, so could you explain why it's so important to deliver medication to the neck versus any other area?
That's an excellent question. You know, I've been talking with other veterinarians, and really beef quality assurance issues have only come to play over the last 20 or 30 years. And if you think about it, I like to have this discussion with my producers, and usually as we're standing in the chute, because I can put my hands on the animal, I go over the backside and say, okay, look at this backside. That's where all your steaks come in. Let's go around over the top. You know, now we're looking at our sirloin and our rounds, and those are some of the best meat cuts that we have on this animal. So let's protect those and move it up to the front and go in the neck, because the neck is a chuck. And in the chuck, there are some really good quality muscles that are down deep, but along the outside, if we do make a mistake, that can be turned into hamburger. So all this area needs to go up front. Plus, the skin up there really seems like it does the best job for taking or accepting the Dart and the remote Dart delivery system.
When you talk about the ozone, that's 6 inches, you know, that's where that new Dart, the Dart actually belongs right there in the BQA approved area.
Yeah.
Very good. Dr. Robin, we're going to have to say goodbye to you and wish we could have you here for the hour, but we really appreciate your input. I always give our guests one last comment before they leave, just kind of wrapping things up from your point of view of all this discussion of remote delivery.
You know, I think with this kind of technology comes a lot of responsibility. You know, and this is not baseball. We can't bat 400 and be an all-star. We're talking about a food product, animal welfare. We need to get it right all the time. So it means taking the time to learn your equipment, use it properly, put your injections in the right place. And a producer that follows those BQA guidelines, you know, be it about being clean, choosing the right injection site, choosing products that are BQA friendly, transfers all that over to their projector, then this can be a technology that will benefit the entire cattle industry.
Well said. Thank you very much for being
here.
Appreciate it. You come back and see us again.
Yes,
we're going to take a break here. He's leaving right now. Well, you don't have to leave right now.
Ready to go.
But you're a man who follows directions here. Dr. Robin will be leaving us, but we're going to be joined by a cattle producer. In fact, one of Dr. Scott's customers joining us on our panel as we close things out. More from Pneu-Dart when we return on Rural America Live right after this. Be right back.
At Pneu-Dart, our customers continue to inspire us to be the best manufacturer of remote drug delivery systems. Our products help support the livelihoods of families, and that's something we take very seriously. What's the value to you? With Pneu-Dart, animals can experience less stress and live a healthier life. Pneu-Dart, a proud company working for you.
Welcome back for our final segment, a fast hour tonight on Rural America Live, here with our guests from Pneu-Dart and my co-host, Cord McCoy. It's been great to work with you. Why don't you just
it is
stick around here?
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
you make it all easy. You make it all. We're talking about, you know, with cattle with such educated folks, makes pretty honorable for me to be here with you.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, and they want to, some of the issues of controlling injections here, and some thoughts you have on that.
Well, you know, I think one of the expressed concerns that I've heard is when considering remote drug delivery is the issue of controlling where the injection is occurring, intramuscular or subcutaneously, you know, in the muscle or under the skin. And I understand that is the best practice to use subcutaneous injection rather than IM injections whenever possible, of course. So let me just take a minute to address some of the folks out there who haven't been using it right.
All right.
Stop using the 3/4 inch. I mean, you don't need it. You should be using the 1/2 inch cannulas to make sure your injections are sub-Q, as they should be, of course.
And we have a video that's going to help us out on that as we work forward. Let's take a look at that. And we promised that we were going to introduce you to a cattleman here as we kind of close things out, and we certainly have one here, Monte Tucker. Great to have you here, Monte. Thanks for joining us tonight.
You bet. Enjoying being here. And
talk about your background. You are a customer of Dr. Scott, so we figure from Oklahoma.
Yes, Sweetwater, Oklahoma. I am a 4th generation farmer, rancher, Sweetwater, Oklahoma. Of course, grew up cattleman all my life. Currently running cow-calf operation with my 93-year-old grandmother and my dad.
How about that?
And my wife and 2 boys. My wife and I also run a stalker backgrounder program. We also feed home-raised cattle to the end producer, and then we also have a small feedlot where I sell directly to customers.
Very good. I just want to get a broad response from you. You've been watching, you know, backstage here, the hour so far, and heard the veterinarians and as a producer. Maybe talk to the producers who are watching out there. They have or haven't used this sort of delivery system.
It's a tool. We talked about it. It's a tool. I have a protocol with my veterinarian. My protocol talks about if it's BRD, here's the steps we take. Here's the drugs we use. My veterinarian and I have the discussion on how to use them, where to use them, why to use them, and so then we have routes of injection. So either I can put the animal in a manual hydraulic chute, I can restrain him, give it with the old-fashioned needle, or this new technology and it's not about me, it's not about my convenience. It's about the calf and the calf's welfare. I don't have to bring this calf up through a mechanized system. He can stay in his environment. I can sneak in, remotely inject this. He spins around and wonders what just hit me. He looks around, he bucks and kicks a little bit, and then he's back onto his normal life. When I signed on to be the 4th generation cattleman, when I do that, I obtain the responsibility to do what it takes to make sure that the animals are treated right, the welfare is correct, because ultimately somebody's going to sit down at a table and enjoy what I produce. And I take that serious. This technology allows me to treat the animal in a humane way. I see less stress. I see a better response. When I see a better response, I don't use near as many antibiotics, which is a hot topic.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you said it best there. You had kind of mentioned something about it's not about the time, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. You know, none of the cattle ranchers that I know ever go out there and clock in or clock out. You know, it's our life. You know, there was a statement that you had made that I was so impressed by, I wrote it down. And this is what Monte said, of course. I create wealth by simply converting God's given renewable natural resources into consumable products. That just hit me. I had to write that down.
Absolutely, yeah. That's and the other thing that hit me as I was just listening to that was well said, by the way, Monte. Good to have you here. Is that it all starts with your veterinarian, and you're talking to producers out there. That would, to me, to be the very first step if they're not familiar with it or if they've used it and they think, well, I probably just went on my own after I was given by the veterinarian. I didn't do the right things. That you need to start with your veterinarian and stay close to that person, he or she.
I love our relationship here. He trusts me. He knows I'm trained. He knows I'm capable. So our meetings are brief. The protocol's down. I follow the protocol. If something arises, I've got his cell phone number. So we text each other often.
Call, text. Pictures.
He's a busy man. Yeah. The text message is convenient. We stay in touch. We keep that valid VP. I can't say it.
VCPR, veterinary client patient relationship.
So.
Now that we've got all the veterinarians here, let's move on to question number 9. I've also heard some discussion over the size of the needle or for the dart or the cannula. We talked about it earlier, and that should be used for the injections. And we had kind of touched on this in the last segment. I understand a 16 gauge is standard, and I'm wondering if anyone knows that if that should be the standard, and what, if any, issues are caused by using a 14 gauge, which is what Pneu-Dart has found to be the most effective for remote delivery.
I think that the new BQA standards coming out, or some of the guidelines that are added to BQA, has actually talked about using a 14 by 3/4 if you're running in a chute, simply because some of the products that have come out are fairly thick and not as syringeable.
Especially in the wintertime.
Especially in the wintertime. And the 14 gauge that they use on the Pneu-Dart is acceptable in that size, because the one thing they did was they manufactured it for a safety requirement to make sure that that needle always holds with the dart. And so that protects the dart itself. I think that's a more important issue.
You kind of mentioned it, Dr. Scott. You know, it matters what your location you're at and the time of year as well.
That's right. That's right. Different medications we have, the base of them, they can be thicker, thinner, and what we don't want to be doing is manipulating any of these products that we use from different pharmaceutical companies. I know there's been producers in the past that they've called me before. Well, can I use this product at this time of year? It's cold. Is it syringeable? Does it flow through there? And I said, no, don't use that product this time of year. You know, and we don't want to be changing any of these products. You know, we are not pharmacologists. We're veterinarians. Yeah. Right. You know, Monty's not a pharmacologist either. He didn't go to school for that. Let's use the products we have in the most judicious manner we can.
Very good. Appreciate you being here. We're going to, just a couple of minutes, though, I'm going to consider that your closing thoughts here. It's a great thought for us to close out on. So, Dr. Scott, good to have you here tonight as well. Welcome back anytime here on RFDtv. Please come back and see us.
I'll hold you to that.
All right, please do. Dr. Laurin, good to have you here as well. Just a quick final thought from you.
Well, and as I was listening to Dr. Scott's discussions, you know, there are a variety of different sizes, so you can match the size with the dosing regimen. You know, so talk to your veterinarian. Understand the dose that you need for the size of the animal. Buy the syringe, the dart that fits that appropriate size. Keep abundance of them on hand. Fill them up only with that medication. Like they said, we can't be mixing medications because we don't understand how they mix. Use the medication that's labeled in the syringe or the dart as it should be. And I appreciate being here. This has been a great discussion.
Yeah, it's been great to have you here. And like Dr. Scott, you're welcome. Please come back and see us again anytime. You're welcome.
Well, great. Thank you.
Cord McCoy, wow, how a fast hour.
It does go faster than 8 seconds.
I'm getting used to this co-host thing here. We've got about 1 minute for you to kind of put it all together and wrap things up for us.
Well, it's such an honor to be here. And for me to get to go around the world and to see it, I feel like now I get to take the Western way of life and share it with the rest of the world. So it's an honor to be here to soak it all in and to learn from such a great group. But for the folks at home, if you have any questions or comments about the show, please reach out to Pneu-Dart and let them know. And thanks for watching, and happy trails to you.
Very good. And with that, we do say thanks to all of our folks who joined us here in our program during this hour. Again, Pneu-Dart.com, the website to go to for all the information. We've only covered a brief part of what the industry is all about, some of the issues that you face. Pneu-Dart aware of those as well. They want to help you. Join us again. Pneu-Dart will be back with us, I'm sure, for more programs, and let them know you saw this program and you appreciate the information. From all of us at RFDtv, good night from Rural America's most important network.